Hey guys, what's going on? Colin here, jumping in at the top of this episode to hit you with a little bit of information. As always, appreciate you guys listening, whether it's our Patreon, our Bad Crystal, Breaking Bad podcast, the main feed. Any listeners are very appreciated. We always appreciate you guys' support. But this episode is a little bit different. What we've decided to do is take some of our episodes from our Patreon. That's patreon.com/midnight double feature. And we're going to rotate them on this main feed that's kind of dormant for, every now and then we're going to rotate one out. So it'll stay for a little while and then it'll be gone. And that's something you can only access on our Patreon. That's $5 a month. It's called The Green Room. We have hundreds of episodes up there now. Obviously, like if you join now, you're getting a lot of episodes right off the rip. I think there's over like 100. It's the only place really we cover movies now too. This main feed has kind of been a little dormant, just between our Patreon and the Bad Crystal podcast, and then our Sopranos podcast coming up called The Sting of Ours. We've been busy bees, and we put a pause on the main feed for now, but it's something that we may come back to later on. But for now, we're putting out our Patreon episodes on a rotational basis to kind of drive people to check out our patreon.com/midnight double feature. Obviously, we're always going to be covering stuff. The Patreon's always going to be up, and we would appreciate any and everybody's support. We're also real big on our Discord right now. The link to that should be somewhere in the show notes. So if you want to join the Discord and you want to check out and become a member of that, that is growing like wildfire right now. We're having a lot of people show up towards the Discord. So definitely come and check it out. Check out our Patreon, and we'll appreciate you guys. We'll see you next one. Bye-bye. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Green Room, your one and only spot for all things bonus content for Midnight Double Feature. I am Colin, along with my intrepid co-host, the Silver Surfer to my Thanos. I don't know what these fucking actors' names are. No, because it's Josh Brolin and then whatever her name, Julia Garner. Thank you, the Josh Brolin about Julia Garner. Zoheb Ali, how you doing, buddy?
Hello, I'm good. How are you, man?
I'm good. I'm very excited to talk about this. It's been a summer of movies so far. And I think this is kind of this is the tip of that ramp that's jumping off for me of like, okay, what else is coming out this year?
I'm so glad you said this because I don't see much of I think we're definitely at the peak. Because I don't see much of it. Maybe other than sort of like, I've never really been a big Paul Thomas Anderson guy, but One Battle After Another is coming out with Leo.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, what, Avatar in December? I mean,
yeah, that Darren Aronofsky movie with Austin Butler.
Caught Stealing, yeah. There are a couple like little things. I mean, obviously the Oscar season's about to ramp up as well. And there's usually some sort of like hidden gems, but like I think we're definitely here, like, not to give our thoughts away or spoil our thoughts on weapons, but I think we're definitely here sort of like at the peak of the year right now in August.
No, for sure. And because I think that, after August, it's like, okay, like now we're starting to get towards the last like season, the last couple of, phases of the year. Because God, fall feels like it lasts 6 weeks. Winter is like 9 years. Like, God damn it. But I think that this has been something that we've both been excited to talk about and excited for you guys to hear, and always very appreciative of you guys supporting the Green Room, you guys giving us your hard-earned money. We really appreciate it to let us come on here and talk about stupid shit. But I was really excited to talk about weapons because even if I didn't have like my history with like Whitest Kid You Know and Zach Cregger and stuff, this was definitely like, talk about the fucking marketing, man. Like, talk about like the way they presented this movie. Like, what did you like, just to Well, actually, before we jump into that, do you still want to talk about Aliens? Because I just totally forgot all about it.
I was like, he's just about to sail right past.
Yeah, I fucking forgot all about it.
No, I mean, look, I'll dive right into weapons. Really quick. I'm just going to talk about Aliens. So obviously, this is the new TV show called Alien Earth, created by Noah Hawley. It dropped its two episode premiere on Hulu this week. And all in all, it's quite good. Like, it's got a lot of potential right now. There's a lot of setup. The first two episodes are very dense. Like, this is not really anything that we've seen from the Alien franchise before. This is totally new. It takes place 2 years before the first film is set.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So, yeah, it is interesting in terms of just like where it's sort of like positioned in the lore of the Alien franchise. I think Noah Hawley is one of my favorite TV creators ever. Like, I haven't seen Legion, but I heard it's quite good.
Oh, the X-Men show,
Legion
yeah.
is yeah. So he created that, and he created Fargo. And Fargo is one of those shows that is just like, especially seasons 1 and 2, that is just like, oh, we are kind of like transcending TV right now. Because like, I mean, not only are you taking a Coen Brothers property and you know, sort of, you're not really adapting it for TV because it's new material, but you're taking that style of Coen Brothers storytelling and you're making it your own, and you're telling new things. It's like the Watchmen TV show.
Yeah.
You didn't really adapt the Watchmen Alan Moore book. It sort of used that sort of like framing and told its own story with a new set of points, and that's kind of what like Fargo did. So I think Alien is sort of really going in that direction as well. Like, we're set up with some new characters and new sort of like, without going into it, new kinds of artificial intelligence sort of thing to tell a different story about human greed. Because I think that's what ultimately Alien boils down to, is how have we developed interstellar space flight, and you know, we've kind of like, I don't know, we've kind of like created all these like technological advances, but we're all still cunts to each other.
Gotcha.
And taking advantage of like, you know, people who are less advantaged, and I obviously love the alien xenomorph stuff, but the more moral sort of like quandaries that you get into with like Weyland Yutani and the company,
progress
and, like,
at the cost of like humanity and shit.
I love that shit. So that looks like where it's really going. Also, the alien in this is incredibly scary. Like they really like, you're scanning the backgrounds and you're just like, oh shit, is that the alien? Is that it in the background there? So they do some really cool stuff. I'm excited to see where this goes. Maybe somewhere around the mid-season point, I'll do another sort of like little recap of this, and I'll do another little bit of a check-in here on the bonus feed. But at the moment, it's been pretty good. Patrick did a nice little write-up on it, I think on Facebook. So Patrick, I completely echo your thoughts, man. If you are listening to this, I think it's a great start with solid potential. And as I've grown up, I've kind of like really sort of come to admire Prometheus. I was telling you off mic, I was watching a couple of the Alien movies, the more recent ones with Steph, a couple weeks ago, and we watched Prometheus, we watched Alien Covenant, we watched Romulus, and Prometheus has really sort of like jumped in my ranks a little bit, like in terms of just like, maybe I was just too young and dumb when Prometheus came out back in 2012, like thinking that it was such like an alien movie, and I was disappointed that it wasn't. But I love the conversations that that Prometheus tries to have. I think it's not executed the best, but it's still a decent ROM. But anyway, Alien Earth, check it out, and I'll be back here in a couple of weeks to talk about Alien Earth.
Oh yeah, I might have to check that out, man, because I've been very neglectful of that. It's like an IP, and I wouldn't mind like a good. I think once I saw AVP 1 or 2 and I walked out in the theater, I think that was the end for me with like both of those like franchise. I like Prey. Prey was really good, but awesome. Alien especially, I just got so lost on. Of like, there's Covenant, there's like a whole there's like 4. I feel like I'm so far behind on the movies now, but if the TV show set before all that, yeah.
Alien and Predator are kind of going through a little bit of like a resurgence in the sphere. Like, I mean, there's that animated movie called Predator, Killer of Killers,
Mhm.
dropped on Hulu. And there's another Predator movie coming out called Predator Badlands,
Mhm.
really soon. So
Yeah.
I think like both franchises are really kind of going through like a bit of a revitalization at the moment.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to keep an eye on. And I think that what is that streaming on, by the way, for you guys?
For us, it's Disney Plus, which
Okay.
is Hulu as well. So it's kind of because Disney owns Hulu. So
Right.
um, yeah, it's just so strange to fire up Alien on Disney, but
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's their newest Infinity Stone they've added. Um,
right.
but back to weapons. I think that I love this. What the bonus feed is for is all like the more recent stuff. We've been knocking out these like more very 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 recent movies like lately. We're like, when did this come out? Like 7 days ago for us, I think. I think it's
August 8th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think for us it came out the 7th, which is something that we'll touch on because there's an interesting little factoid about that date. Remind me later.
Just say it. I know exactly what you're about to say.
I'll save it for my thoughts because I'll save it for
I'll
for
dance
me,
around
but,
it.
Yeah, we'll dance around it. But this was a very definitely the most anticipated movie of the year for me. We'll get into my thoughts because, like I said, I've got a lot of background with Zach Kreger and like obviously with this being, even if I'd not seen Whitest Kids, I think like the way this was marketed would have been something that I would have been like, I have to see that, even if I didn't have a past history. But what were your thoughts with weapons? Like, because I feel like I still need to see it a couple more times too. I only went and saw it once. I don't know about you, but I'm interested to hear your thoughts.
I've only seen it once. I went by myself at 9:30 at night on a Thursday night. Steph was going to come with me, but she's like, "Oh man, you know what? You can go. It's too late. I got work in the morning." And I was just like, "Look, I can wait for you." But like inside, I was just like, "I really don't want to." I was like, I really don't want to. I really want to go see it before I get spoiled." But like, she's good about that kind of stuff. So she still has not seen it. I went by myself with. Yeah, like and the cinema, I mean, up here in the mountains, it's just generally quiet. Like the movies are pretty quiet in general, but there was still some people in there, and I'm like, oh, look at these, my motherfucking freaks. Game recognized game. Here we are, Thursday night, 9:30. Let's go.
Yeah.
And I just like the cinema experience was frustrating to me, as it almost always is with new releases that are horror, because people can't shut the fuck up. People
Mhm.
can't shut the fuck up and regulate their own insecurities and regulate their own emotions, because like, man, I'm telling you, the lady who was sitting like one row back from me just like whispering to her husband, like when Julia Garner goes out the door and sees like her, by the way, spoilers in this episode.
Oh, of course. Of course. Yeah.
Weapons. When she goes out the door and like sees her car and like it's like painted witch, right?
Mhm.
And the lady's like behind me. She's like, she left the door open, and I'm just like, shut the fuck up! Like it's not going to amount to anything, and it didn't amount to anything. She just left the door open because she just walked out of her own house. Shut up. Anyway, it was just like a lot of that bullshit, and I'm just like, god damn. But to be quite honest, it didn't detract from the movie for me at all. I thought, I still think that this is probably the best film of the year so far. I could not believe what I was witnessing. Like I could like just from a technical perspective, from a writing perspective, from an acting perspective, from a tone setting perspective. I kind of want to be like Julia Garner should get up on her silver surfboard and be like, I herald Zach Kreger to the horror genre, because like if Barbarian was like the clue of like, holy shit, we have a new voice in horror, Weapons is now we are here. We are firmly here.
Mhm.
Like he is now firmly in the Jordan Peele sort of like Ari Aster horror maestro sort of like sphere.
Mhm.
And I have heard a couple of interviews with him saying that like this will come up because like I've been researching this episode, which is something that I don't really do, but yeah, like his next film is Resident Evil,
Mm.
and he talks about like how the lead of that will be Austin Abrams, who's also in this movie, and it's just kind of like a guy who just sort of like ventures into Raccoon City one day as this outbreak is sort of happening. But like he says that he's got a couple of scripts that he's been writing that are not horror. So I'm
Mhm.
excited to see where he goes in terms of like different genres. I obviously love his two horror films. Um but I'm super curious to see how he sort of does in other areas. I thought that this movie was a very um, I thought it was a meditation on. This is going to sound very up my ass. A meditation on what it feels like to lose someone that you
Mhm.
love. You know, not only like I mean, like obviously the kids. Obviously, you get a lot of that with Josh Brolin's characters. Um, but I think like that really sort of like crystallized for me when I listened to these interviews with Kreger and how he talks about, well, I wrote this movie because of a certain someone who passed away in my life and my dad.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
so like you know he's just like this is one that this is something that's been kind of like rattling around in my brain, and I just kind of like put pen to paper one day, and I just kind of like started writing and didn't stop. I also really like how down to earth Kreger is in real life. I know I'm not really talking about the movie; I'm talking about Zach Kreger, but
Mhm.
I will talk about the movie in a sec. I'm so sorry. I love how down to earth he is because everyone is trying to attach these huge, deep, and meaningful sort of like soliloquies to a lot of this movie, and he's just like, "No, I just did that shit because it was interesting and because it was cool." Like,
Mhm.
you know, he talks about obviously when the kids like walk out of their house, they have that posture, that very now sort of like iconic posture that they're running across the street where they got their hands outstretched, sort of thing. He's like, honestly, I just did that because I thought it looked cool. Like
Yeah. Just
having
the
them run
imagery of it.
correct, yeah. Having them run outside the house with just their arms by their sides or running normally, it's just not unsettling. Like, whereas like this adds a different layer of like mystery to it and adds another sort of like, like it's another talking point.
Mhm.
It's something else to talk about. Plus, like also it feels like they're being called, like they're being summoned.
Right.
Um, and we'll talk about Gladys eventually. I loved Gladys, dude. Um, but I thought this movie was spectacular. I think there is sort of like a halfway sort of point where you are given more and more clues, and you're like, oh, so this is where we're going. I know where we're going now. Once
Mhm.
we've got like a couple clues about parasites, once we're given a
Right.
couple clues about like once Gladys enters the picture, you're just like, oh, okay, I know where we're going with this. I really dig the structure of this movie. I know that that's kind of like been a bit of a sticking point for some people. Like obviously we follow different characters at different times. So Justine's first, then Archer, then I think Alex, Paul. I can't remember like the order, but like
Mhm.
obviously like we kind of like it's not all shown in sequence. Like sometimes we go back and see things from a different perspective. I really like that storytelling technique when it's used effectively, and I think it's used really effectively here.
Mhm.
Um, I thought James's sort of like segment, that's Austin Abrams who plays the sort of like homeless drug addict.
Yeah, yeah.
I thought his segment was like incredible, dude. I was like, this is fantastic. But yeah, man, like the horror imagery in this, like it really reminded me of um not to trigger you because I know this is a very you episode. Like this is like
Oh,
you're
sure,
like what
yeah.
is kids and like now I'm about to say your trigger word, which is Stephen King. Like
Mhm.
I'm about to like it really reminded me of like Derry at some points, like when
Right. The whole
James is kind of
town,
like going
yeah.
into the whole yes, exactly. So I was really blown away by this movie, to be quite honest, man. I thought the humor was handled pretty well. I know a lot of people kind of have a lot of thoughts about the way it ends, with
Mhm.
the way Gladys is sort of like dispatched, and we can talk about that a little bit later. But I thought that I thought the movie was really leading up to that in a big bad way. And when it happens, it's pretty glorious. I think Kreger in both sort of Barbarian and Weapons, I don't think he has a problem sticking the landing. I really like the landing in both movies. I think he's just like, I'm going to do what I find interesting, which is absolutely the way any filmmaker should operate. Like, you know what I
Right.
mean? But yeah, man, I had a great time with this movie. We'll talk about some specific points when you're done with your opening impressions. But yeah, I'm curious to see, what do you think about the movie?
I liked it. I definitely did. It was a little underwhelming, just a little bit. I think there's a lot going on and there's a lot of really good stuff, but I guess I was hoping for the like all in all positive, but I'm getting my negatives out of the way first because there's going to be so many more positives than negatives. And I think the negatives are especially how like like when you, in terms of plot, like there's not like a crazy amount of like a lot of the movie for its 2 hours being long are retelling the same parts of the story just from a different perspective, which is still very cool. Like I still like that. I think that's an interesting perspective to take and to show, and things look different from other people's perspective. When Paul knocks out James, the junkie, in Paul's memory, he's like, okay, up you go, come on. And then in James's, he goes, all right, get the fuck up. It's, I don't know if you ever, if anybody has caught that, but multiple times there's like totally different reactions to stuff within the same scenario between the two people. And I thought that was cool as hell. I thought there was going to be a little bit scarier and a little bit more mysterious about like how we find out where these kids are, like a little bit more of like a detective, like kind of feel to it. But ultimately, like that's just kind of where I felt like the story would, based on like the trailers and the marketing, was going to end up going, was this kind of like, J.J. Abrams-esque mystery of where did 17 kids run off to in the middle of the night. And I was hoping for it to be like a little bit scarier, just like give me like 10% scarier, because the scariness
I thought this was terrifying, dude. I don't know about you, but I was just like, there were points where I was just like, holy shit, like we are, I don't know, dude, when Josh Brolin is in his sort of like dream sequence.
Yes, that's like, yeah.
Come on, like, and I don't know, like when we're in the house with James and he's like, oh, Willow, and he sees the two parents, dude. And I'm just like, oh man, I don't know, like there's a lot of imagery here. Like, okay, like I'm sorry to cut you off. I came home that night. It was almost midnight, and I parked my car and I fucking went into the house like a fucking crazy person, dude.
Really?
I like locked my door. I think it's just the shot. Like it was the thought of like Benedict Wong fucking chasing me and his fucking crazy eyes, dude. There's stuff in this movie in terms of like horrific imagery that I've never seen before. And I was like,
yeah, I agree. I think there's definitely some really good, the shot that I feel like really gave me the creeps, that did scare me, is when the mom's head is through the door and she's looking down and like her, they've definitely done something where her face, where they've put this like very weak kind of like cloud of blackness over her eyes, where like she's looking down. Like that was the moment where I'm like, give me like 10% more of that in the movie. And oh my God, like I could act like, but I just thought it was, I thought it was a really good movie. I didn't like absolutely like love it, but I think that I need to watch it a few more times as well. It's going to be really hard for me to be objective with like obviously how much I like Zach Kreger and Whitest Kids and stuff. And I think that ultimately I put it in the, there's like the hate it, don't like it, love it. It's somewhere in between love it and like it for me. It's somewhere in between there that like I want to see it again. I'll definitely buy it when it comes out. But all in all, like the way the story flip flops between different characters, I've heard people throw around like Pulp Fiction and like how it throws around from like different characters' perspectives, and you see like events like unfold until the end when like all the lines kind of like converge into the house. So that
Kreger talks about this like yeah, like being Magnolia meets Hereditary. I
Right.
haven't seen Magnolia. Like I said, I'm not a big PTA person, but I mean, can I think Magnolia is also told out of sequence, and sort of like in this style. So
Mm-hmm.
if those are his two sort of like guiding lights in terms of like inspiration, I think that's kind of what he was going for.
Right. And I think that there's a lot of it's a very creepy fucking movie. I think that's the best way for me to describe it, is like it's unsettling and it's a very creepy fucking movie, but it didn't like scare me at points where I was just like, dude, this is creepy as fuck. But like I felt like they're like the moments of like her in the basement when Archer's looking for Matt and she comes out of the dark, and I was like, oh yes, like I hooked that into my veins. Like I love that. I just like, I felt like Barbarian was definitely scarier than this, because Barbarian is like you're trapped in the tunnels with this thing, and like holy shit, like it's a creature feature kind of movie, so there's more of like a constant direct like threat. So I guess I was looking for the level of Barbarian's kind of scariousness in weapons, because Barbarian to me was definitely, there's the horror and like the tension of like Bill Skarsgård and the main actress, and it's like, is this guy gonna fucking kill me? Like what's going on here? And then it totally changes gears to this other level of horror that I really liked a lot. But I liked it for the most part. I want to see it again. I definitely don't have like a lot of negative talking parts, other than like I wanted a little bit more mystery, a little bit scarier. But I totally understand, like my threshold for shit is like can be higher than some people. Like it takes a lot to get me like, oh fuck, man, that's creepy as shit. Like
I also don't think like maybe I'm just talking for myself here. Nothing really scares me anymore. We've talked about this before. Like I mean, we're adults in our 30s.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like sure, like there are like ideas that can like scare us, but like I just don't think that there's anything like inherently that like a director can make that's like scary.
Right.
I don't know. Like, I mean, like, there's definitely things that they can do that are unsettling, that are creepy, that can like sort of like stick in your craw for a bit. But like, I don't know, because like then you kind of like go into this conversation of like, okay, what's scary, and then like how do you scare people, and then like what's the threshold for scare? And I just like, I mean, like if we are talking about like creep factor, like which one's more creepy, like between Barbarian and Weapons, it's Barbarian. Like I mean, Barbarian is just by the nature of the way that story is told is like, you know, the first
constant like tension.
Constant tension in the first 30 to 40 minutes is like this sort of misdirection, sort of you know, you're kind of like set up to believe that Bill Skarsgård is this creepy guy who's here to sort of prey on this unsuspecting woman, and then it just like dives into this whole other thing. Plus, like, I mean, there's a sequence in Barbarian somewhere around the middle of the movie, which is shot, I think it's like in 16 millimeter, where it's like that aspect ratio change, and it like takes us through a flashback of like this, of the guy that used to live there. And anyway, sorry, I'm kind of getting off topic. I'm just saying, like, I think I don't. I went into this like knowing it's billed and sold as a horror. But I didn't really go in expecting a lot of scares. I think I've been doing that a lot lately with horror movies that are like sort of like advertised as horror movies. I'm just like, because I really wanted to know what the mystery was in this movie.
Right.
Like I mean,
right.
I think that's really the like where are the kids? What's the go? But I think Kreger does a good job of like really sort of like making unsuspecting things really fucking creepy. The one shot I can't get out of my head is this really sort of long tracking shot as Justine walks into this like sort of like gas station, and behind her you see I think her name's Donna. She's played by June Diane Raphael, who's actually married to Paul Scheer, who has a great podcast, whatever. But like Donna's kind of like following her through the aisles, and every time like they turn a corner, the camera turns the corner, so you know Donna's getting closer. But it's also just like, holy shit, like what's behind her? Like, you know what I mean? Like it's not. like the answer is not scary or creepy, but the way it's set up to be is creepy. Like, you know, I think that's the movie in a nutshell. Like, because like Gladys as an answer is not super scary or super creepy. She can be,
Mm.
but I think the setup of it is scary and creepy. Does that make sense?
Mm. Somewhat. Like I think that it's kind of like it's like, yeah, jacking off's great, but blowing a load is not really that great. You know, it's like it's like I don't want to just edge the whole time. I want a load blown. So like, but I feel like the movie does that though. There's moments where I mean, probably my favorite part is Josh Brolin waking up from that dream. You know, what the fuck? Like
What the fuck?
That was great. The whole theater.
There are some
like,
great one-liners, dude. Like Justine in the gas station being like, "Fucking help me!"
Yeah, there's some. It's a very funny. It's a very funny movie, and I think that there's a lot of like. There's a lot of touches in the movie with humor that kind of counterbalance to like the horror points of it, because the parts where it's scary are scary as hell. When you know, when especially like towards the end of the movie where we kind of start getting more and more like the setup is just, it's a huge, I feel like it's a lot of setup, and we really don't get like a scary moment until she's in her house getting drunk and somebody's ding dong ditching her and running off and writing stuff on her car. Like that's the first kind of like, and like creepiness of the movie. But I feel like as it goes on, it gets scarier. But I feel like it was one of those movies where they were really going for like what I see what you were talking about, where they're going for a lot more of like the atmosphere and the potential for something to go wrong versus like actually just showing something, you know, happening on screen. And I feel like there's a lot of like potential for what the fuck is going to happen, because it feels like you're just walking into like this blackness of like what is going to pop out in this fucking movie, because now we're getting into like witches and mind control and like and shit, and like it was really cool, and I think there's a lot to dive into.
Did you think well, sorry to cut you off. I just want to sort of like get what was your thought process in terms of just like as the movie's progressing, what did you think about what happened to the kids? Like, were you taking sort of like guesses, or like, you know, because like the movie does somewhat mislead you for a little bit. Mm-hmm. Like when we get to Archer's segment, when he, you know, is reviewing the Ring camera footage, and then he breaks out the map, and then you kind of see like the sort of like the radio tower. Mm-hmm. I was like, oh shit, is this like some kind of like Hawkins lab is at the middle of everything sort of situation?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I was like, are we in for some kind of like Stranger Things sort of like territory here? I'm ultimately glad it didn't go that way, but like, did you kind of like have that sort of like thought as well?
Yeah, I didn't think that it's a very simple plot. I didn't think it was going to be like that simple, because I think, like I said, it goes for a lot more in terms of like atmosphere and what it's trying to say versus like a plot heavy. Like it's got the feeling of a Stephen King novel, but without all there's a lot of like complexities in Stephen King novels where things like bounce back and forth. And he's known for writing these like crazy kind of plots. But I feel like this one is just, it's very simple of like a witch comes into town, witch takes the kids, dad finds the kids, witch gets killed. And it's a very simple like plot. If you look at it, just boil it down to bare bones. But I was kind of like, there was a moment where I was like, I mean, if there's these people in this house and they have newspaper up over their windows, I was like, what are the odds these kids are in this fucking house? You know, like at some point the thought did cross my mind. But I was like, well, that's not, you know, there might be something more complicated.
Well, we don't have the pieces at that point, right? I mean, like we right. Mind control is not a factor in our calculations at that point.
Right. And it was very it was interesting seeing like how the movie kind of takes this turn from like a whodunit kind of thing, you know, like to this this much more of a, I mean, kind of another creature feature of this supernatural entity, which again, that supernatural element wasn't super in Barbarian. Like, it was more of just like, look at this, freak of nature, like, kind of thing. Like, it's a
copy of a copy of a copy.
Yeah, the leap in logic, I feel like, the believability is stretched farther in this movie, which is fine. I'm still fine with it. Like, I like the idea of just like of her being just like a straight witch. And there's a lot of allusions
like voodoo shit.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a lot of allusions to Pennywise. There's a lot of allusions to this redheaded, creepy grin motherfucker showing up to a town and taking all these kids is very interesting. It's similar in tone. It's similar in like broad strokes. And I think that's why a lot of people are having kind of like Stephen King flashbacks of this. But I think that I ended up liking it. I want to see it again. I want to get more information like on it and watch it again, because now it's like my expectations have been it's going to be very hard for me like to be, have like any kind of bias or not have any kind of bias and just be like strictly objective, because of how I go into horror movies, and then how like I've seen so much of, the Whitest Kids stuff.
That's fine. Yeah. I mean, like, we all have some kind of attachment to some filmmakers or, some artists or, yeah. I mean, like if you want to go to bat for Zach Cregger, go for gold. I mean, there are worse people to get behind, man. Like, you could come on here and be like, oh shit, you know what? I really loved Hulk Hogan, and I'm gonna go. With it. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So I think just really quickly, I think I wanted to ask. Fuck, I forgot what I was gonna say. You're fucking rambling, dude. No, I'm kidding. It'll come to me. Sorry, keep going.
No, but I think that I think that it's something I need to see multiple times, and it's going to be hard for me to be unbiased and be objective about this, because like I almost walked out of it at first like, yeah, I don't know how I feel about that, and I was like, I liked it. I definitely think that I liked it, but I need to see that like a few more times. And I think that I think that all the pieces are there, but I'm still kind of like putting stuff together of like, I don't know how I feel like, like Archer just pulling out a map and being like, oh yeah, they're there. And it's like, cops can't fucking do that. Like, is this like the cops can't pull out a ruler and a map and triangulate stuff? Like, it kind of killed me that is that, but my first initial thought is like, what the fuck, but then my second thought is that a commentary on how on some of these
policing?
Missing kids. Yeah, police fucking suck, and sometimes you got to pull teeth to get them to do their jobs.
I think certainly. I think is it James? Sorry, who does Alden Ehrenreich play again? James?
Paul.
Paul. Yes, I think certainly Paul's segment is really a commentary on policing.
Mm, yeah,
like he's this alcoholic, sort of like adultering. Police officer who really gets overcome by this homeless person who really gets under his skin, and ultimately it leads to Paul's demise, a sad fucking demise. But like, when we get that moment of him punching James in the side of the face after he sticks him with the needle,
right?
I was like, oh shit, like, I was just like, oh James, I don't know if there's any coming back for you here. Like, we kind of go into this like full blown panic as Paul. We go into this like full blown panic as Paul, as he's sort of like, ripping off the cables of his like dash cam, and he's panicking. He's starting to sweat. And then like for a quick moment, you forget about the kids for a bit. You forget about like the central mystery, and you kind of like in Paul's shoes. And I think like to be able to pivot priorities in a movie like this is really, really good storytelling. Like, because you really put yourself in the shoes of whatever character you're sort of like following in each particular segment. Like, for example, again, when James is at the pawn shop and he sees like the poster of the missing kids, and then like just the POV of him like looking down the board and like seeing the kids, and then like the camera pans back up to the reward.
Yeah.
It's just so, Cregger does such a good job of getting you into the mindset of each character. and I was very, very grateful. Do you want to? We can talk about whatever else you want to talk about, but like, do you want to talk about Gladys a little bit more?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that there's definitely like a lot there in terms of her as like a character. They didn't. I don't feel like they gave away too much. It was like just enough information to know. Yeah, like she's like, yeah, they have a touch of consumption, and it's like, what is this, Red Dead 2? Like, what
it's
the fuck?
It's a touch of consumption. It fucking reminded me of Charlie Day.
yeah. It's got this like, I don't need a sequel to Weapons, but like a prequel Gladys movie. Yeah, sure. Like, yeah, I'd be down for that. Like Zach Cregger does it or something.
They've already announced it, or they've already.
Oh,
there's
really?
rumors that it's happening. Yeah. Like the fact that you said that is like, I thought you had that knowledge going in, but yeah, it came out yesterday that they're developing a Gladys prequel.
I'm totally. Normally, I would be like, no, I would not really, But I think something like Gladys that could be potentially like Yoda aged, witch is an interesting setup, and the fact that she's that she portrays herself as this really powerful. She shows up in these dreams, and she's got this very again, a very Pennywise, like kind of in the middle of the woods waving at people is like such a Pennywise thing. So I think her showing up in the ways that she does, and her unbelievably, I don't know what the word is, just the moxie to walk into these houses and ruin these lives that is what's kind of frightening about her, is that we don't know how she got in touch with these people. Don't really need to know how she got in touch with these people. I'm assuming it's some kind of magic or something. But I think her as a villain was really interesting, in that, yes, she's a witch, but she's almost like a goddamn vampire. And I thought that was kind of cool, of just this thing feeding off the life force of like the younger generation is very cool. I like that.
Yeah, like I said, we did get some really sort of like sometimes subtle and sometimes not subtle clues as to what's really sort of like going on here with the kids. I mean, the first time that I was like really sort of like put onto it was, we're in the classroom with Justine, and in the background you very clearly see the word on the blackboard, parasite.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, okay, well, what's the go here? And then like later, when we kind of get a flashback, I think as Alex Lilly, they're learning about parasites in the classroom. And then obviously the more obvious one is when Marcus and his partner sit down to enjoy their 7 hot dogs. They're watching this thing about parasites. And I was like, well, we're kind of getting sort of like beaten over the head about parasites. I'm very curious to see what happens here. And then cue Gladys knocking on Marcus's door.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously before that, a couple moments before that, we got Gladys arriving in Marcus's sort of like office. But then it was like sort of like, it really all sort of like crystallized to me. I was like, oh, okay, I get it. She's a witch, or she's some kind of parasite wanting to feed on these kids. And then it's confirmed when she tells Alex Lilly that she's dying. And I was like, okay, well now we know what she's doing. But I like just the idea that like this witch can like roll up to infest this family, because Alex Lilly's mom is like, yeah, she's like she's my aunt Gladys, and like, I haven't seen her in ages. And like Alex Lilly's dad is just like what? She just rolled up like just out of nowhere. And it's just kind of like, I don't know, the way, I have to watch it again, but like the way Alex's mom is just like, yeah, I don't know, like it seems hazy for her, like how she kind of like remembers her. And I'm just like, oh, that's so cool. Like I thought that was cool. Like the infestation in her mind, or the implementation of Gladys being Alex's actual aunt.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't fully take hold. Like it's sort of like it's sort of just missed in her head.
Yeah, it's enough not to cause a ruckus, but like maybe not to create a whole like false memories and shit. And that's something that's unbelievably powerful as to like make stuff rot like from within, not try to take it headstrong and like fly around the fucking house like Harry Potter, the fucking Harry Potter kids, and trying to like Avada Kedavra fucking motherfuckers. It's like it's this rot from within, which I think is definitely intentional, because like when we get to like what the movie is about, there's a lot of stuff that people have speculated on. There's stuff that's been like just 100% like confirmed. The biggest thing that I've heard a lot of people talk about is the school shooting, kind of like how you want to call that context of the movie, like what it's trying to say about like school shootings, which apparently Zach Cregger has come out and been like, that actually wasn't really my intent at all, but like, cool. Like if that's what you pick up out of it, that's what you pick up out of it. And to that, I say, how the fuck can you not pick up on that? Like, are you kidding me?
I think they're giant glowing like loot crate
AR,
AR-15 over the house is a bit like.
Yes,
I do get what Craig is saying though. I like now I'm playing like devil's advocate for a second here, because I do also agree with you. I think like it's like the conversations around school shootings in this movie is pretty much unavoidable, even without that AR-15 imagery,
right?
Because like ultimately, like this is a story about how school-age children go missing from told from a perspective of a teacher, and parents, and a school, and a principal. So like it is very much rooted in like something that goes wrong in a school. And what's the worst possible thing that can happen in a school in reality is unfortunately what does happen in reality.
Mm-hmm.
And I think even without that AR-15 imagery, like it definitely is there. Now, like when Cregger is like, people can take away whatever they want with the school shootings and stuff. That's all well and good. But then then you get to the question of like, what does it say about it?
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't really, if we do follow the thread of the school shootings, it doesn't really say much about school shootings other than the community or the communities like this constantly fail vulnerable people like kids.
Mm-hmm.
No, I think that's sort of like I think that like in the big picture, that's what Craig is going for, is vulnerable people are always sort of like taken advantage of. Obviously Gladys is taking advantage of Alex Lilly, and his sort of like trust in adults and his parents and all that stuff. But then like the big giant glaring AR-15 is what it is. I've been trying to interpret that imagery. I think that's the one piece of imagery in this movie that's like really kind of got me baffled a little bit. I don't think that there will be an answer. I don't think Craig is going to come out. Hopefully, I'm hoping that he won't come out and be like, "This is what this means." I don't love when like filmmakers do that all the time. Like, just let things be things. But we do see that AR-15 in a dream sequence from the perspective of Josh Brolin's character, and it kind of makes me wonder whether Archer, I don't know, like what fed Archer's subconscious for him to see that.
Right. Yeah. Like, what is it that, because the kids, it's like, what are the weapons? The kids are the weapon. Okay. Well, what are they hurting? Like at the end, they turn on her, but that's the only thing that really, I mean, are they being used as weapons, like in their community for people versus people? Like, well, what exactly is like the term weapons? And like, ultimately, like that's like the first kind of like reading that I've heard a lot of people jumping into it, but obviously like, and I mean, I think a lot of people that have paid attention to Zach Cregger pre or post like Barbarian and stuff is that, he's dealing with the loss of Trevor Moore from Whitest Kids You Know, which is a huge huge part of this movie. And also his own sobriety, his parents' sobriety. Like there's a lot of stuff that Zach Cregger, he's very open in talking about, of like he's like, the last third of this movie is really about like me as a kid having to help take care of an alcoholic, parent, and literally feed them and keep them alive because they're just lost in this fog of whatever it is. And I think that's one of the things about the movie that interests me the most, is it creates this unique blend of like self-destructive behaviors that are most frequent in like guilt or loss and tragedy and stuff like that these are kind of the vicious things that people fall into. That there's a lot of different vices, that there's a lot of like the 7 deadly sins, all except for really like gluttony and greed. There's anger, there's lust, I guess gluttony you could say, like, the whole the being an addict or gluttoning on different like substances and stuff. Like there's a lot to it of like what all of these characters are in like relation to loss and losing somebody and having remorse about, especially when Archer is talking to Matt and he's like, I'm sorry, like I never told you I love you, blah blah blah. And I'm like, oh, this is Zach Cregger talking to Trevor Moore. Like this is 100%, and as a Whitest Kids fan from like day one, that was tough, man. Like that got me in the theater for a minute where I was like, oh fuck, man. And I was like, that's really hard to hear. Like, that I loved Trevor Moore. I am forever will be a massive Whitest Kids fan. I've got the whole fucking box set on the desk behind me. And, even outside of Whitest Kids, Trevor Moore had his own comedy albums and stuff. And he was a very funny guy, very, very much so missed. And I think that this movie obviously has a lot to do with, I think I watched an interview with Josh Brolin where he straight up said, he's like, yeah, I had this, like, the way Josh Brolin, I had this like really visceral and like emotional conversation with Zach, and it's like, I like the way Josh Brolin talked, but he talks about having this conversation where like, it was very emotional and Zach was grieving this loss of a friend. And like it's interesting that they're looking at it too. They're not like, directly like, oh, Zach was talking about Trevor Moore, blah, 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 blah. He's like, he was just a friend. Like to me, like it was a human being, not like another celebrity or somebody that died, like it kind of humanizes him. So I thought it was interesting hearing, as a Whitest Kid, it was very cool to kind of see like, to kind of see, Trevor Moore remembered forever in a huge movie. Thought that was really nice. Like that made me really happy as a Whitest, even though it's in this like context of grief and loss, like the fact that there's this movie that forever has Trevor Moore in the DNA of it, was interesting. I know I posted in the after party a little while ago about the hot dogs. Benedict Wong and his husband sit down, and that's 7 hot dogs is a Whitest Kid sketch, which is, please what? It is so fucking funny. He's like, you're eating 7 hot dogs a day? He's like, yeah, it's not a lot. And he's like, it's not little. It's definitely a lot. Like it's so fucking funny. And that had a huge, like, profound effect on me, like going into this movie. It was released on the day that he died. That's what we were talking about at the beginning. August 7th, I think, of 21. Think it was 2021. Obviously that, and it hits the movie in a huge way, to the point that I don't know if I believe in this. People are like, yeah, Trevor died at 2:17 a.m. I'm like, okay, can we not turn this into like an Elvis thing and try to make it like, like a huge, like, R.I.P. man. It's like, come on, let's not. I doubt that's true.
I don't know. I don't know what the reason Cregger's, I don't know what the reason was for the 2:17 a.m., but I can almost guarantee you, having listened to the interviews with Cregger, he's just been like, oh, it was just an obscure time that I thought would be interesting.
I heard it was because that's the room in the Shining novel. In the movie, it's 2:37. And supposedly Kreger has said like, yeah, it's because it's 217 from The Shining novel, which is great. If you ever read a Stephen King book, The Shining novel is incredible.
Or maybe it's just the
very
time
creepy.
that Gladys felt like doing it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, whatever it is, it's not like a huge, like, some people can get too up their own asses about stuff like that, you know. And
I think that's a lot of this movie sort of like wrapped up in a nutshell. Like, I know you kind of alluded to it, and maybe that's sort of like what you were a little bit sort of let down by. I mean, like, it is this sort of big mystery, but then the big mystery ends up having simple answers.
right.
And I think that is a lot of this movie. And I kind of did go into this movie not prepared for that, but like sort of like thinking that I think I had an inkling that the answer was more simple than what it was probably going to be. Maybe that's why I wasn't really let down or anything by it, because I thought I was expecting somewhat of a simple answer. I'm glad that it's not a big convoluted thing, but I'm just saying, like, I think I think the movie is also like this sold as this big mystery, but it's not. I think those are the best mysteries.
I'm split 50-50 because on one hand, like I didn't hate it, but I do hate when movies market like they market something where it's like, where did the kids go? And it's like, well, they were just in this house down the street the whole time. And it's like, yeah, I don't love that. I don't love like the whole.
I don't think that's the fault of the movie though. Like, yeah,
no, that's the fault of the marketing for sure. Like that's 100% on the people that put the marketing together. But because now I have these, you put this marketing together. Like, what was I supposed to think? Like going into it, but
look,
even despite that, I still
does
like
do that. That is the subject of the first half of the movie, which is like, where did these kids go? Yeah, like it is in the text as well.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think it'd be interesting to see because I feel like there's parts of it that I'm missing that are not clicking for me, that are like the way to put this movie together is in there somewhere. But like the girl who's narrating the story talks about it as if it's like an urban legend. But right. Is she, I think they said her name's like Amy or something like that. But I don't know if she's in the actual class or not, because like I don't know if she says it's from her class or from her town or what it is, but it's kind of passed around as like this bit of like folklore.
Yeah. Like,
you know?
myths. Yeah. So she says that it's Mrs. Gandy's class. So that indicates that she's not in her class.
Okay. Gotcha.
But she probably goes to a school. Now Patrick raised something. I think it was Patrick. I can't remember who. No, someone else. I think it might have been on the LSG media page under my sort of like review. For them, they kind of felt duped. They felt misled because in that opening sort of monologue, that little girl says the kids never came back.
Right.
And the kids do come back. You and I watched this movie. We saw them sort of like snap out of their Well, we didn't see them snap out of their sort of like spell, because I think the kids are physically back, but in like the final shot when Josh Brolin is carrying his son, I don't think the kids do come back. You know, like, and I kind of wonder if it is like, you know, and I know everyone uses this magical word that I'm about to say, trauma. I know that people use that word to affix everything to trauma, but like that, like I wonder if that's what Craig is sort of like taking away from this, is like, you know, these kids have been subject to a lot of like bullshit, so like they're never really going to come back. But yeah, what did you think about that? What did you think about that sort of like? I wouldn't go so far as to say that it's misleading, but it is
it's a
sort
little
of
misleading
like device.
It's a little bit.
So. I don't
bit.
think so. I think it's interesting. I think it's more interesting than them not coming back, or like them being like sort of.
It knows what it's doing. It's clever. It's very clever.
It knows what it's doing.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not. But it's like it's misleading misleading is not always a bad thing. That's why we have red herrings. You know, like I think there is a bit of misleading there, but because, and you're right. I mean, the kids never, I mean, look at Alex's parents and how they were so far under the spell forever that they were, you know, essentially vegetables at this point. So it's like these kids, what has it been, a month? I think they say probably a month and like a few days or a week, something. That these kids have been under the spell. So I think that I think that the odds of all of them coming back 100% are zero. That I don't think they ever come back like normal. And I think that that's something the movie's also trying to say about, you know, losing people that are close around you and stuff like that. Of like, you know, I have seen people who lost somebody and just they lost their goddamn minds, you know, that people around them did not know. I know friends who have lost parents and they did not realize how much that one parent really kind of kept, you know, this person in check. It's very interesting to see that, you know, kind of displayed in the movie of, you know, you don't know what some people are going to do when it comes to like grief and loss and stuff like that. And some people, you know, you'd never know that they were in any kind of like pain. They act like so, just like my mom's dad died on her birthday. And then like 4 or 5 days later, my dad had a massive heart attack and almost died. Had like an 11% chance to live. And she was just like, dude, you would have never noticed. It was fucking insane. She was like, yeah, she says, once your dad had the heart attack, somebody did give me like a chill pill. You know, somebody had to give me something to kind of settle my nerves. And it was like a 0.25 milligram of something, you know, just a very the iron lady. But yeah, I know some people that are like, oh no, if this person dies, I'm jumping off a bridge. You know, we know, we probably know people like that or have met people like that. And I think that it's kind of a commentary on grief and loss and how, you know, yeah, you are physically still there, but you're not really the same person behind those eyes, you know, when they come back. And I think that last shot of Matthew where it's just this dead stare of just like, yeah, I think that's kind of what the movie is saying, is that losing somebody, especially goddamn so young. I mean, Trevor Moore was 41, so young, that in turn like double folds the tragedy of it. And then when you're using that as like children as an analogy of a 41-year-old, that triple folds this kind of like, oh fuck, man, it's like those rumshucka fucking Russian nesting dolls of pain. And I think it was really interesting to see Zach Cregger kind of deal with that through the microscope or through the lens of missing children and people, you know, people using it as a scapegoat for children's deaths or children going missing, and the inability of the police, the inability of the systems around you totally failing. Because I think for me, if a loved one just never came back, that's almost worse than them just dying, because then you're just left with this wide open question mark your whole life. And that can drive some people nuts as well. So I think that there's a lot going on when it comes to these, like an analogy and an analogy and an analogy kind of thing.
No, absolutely. And I think you definitely hit the nail on the head. Like in a lot of these like true crime sort of like case file episodes, when you have a child who is kidnapped, and then miraculously they're rescued or they're saved, there is this like constant I don't know, like on the part of the parent on the part of the parent, like there's going to be like a little bit of like, damn, what happened to you when you were away? You know, like what happened to you when you were under someone else's supervision? You know, how did they take care of you? What did they do to you? And like, I hate to say this, but how did they violate you? Like,
sure.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
So like, there's always going to be questions and wondering. We're kind of like barreling towards the end here. So I do have one more thing that I wanted to bring up. Mm-hmm. Dude, you weren't scared when Alex's mom comes out with the fucking scissors and that shot is just like the way she's being like puppeteered to the car and shit. I was like, this is filmmaking, man. Like the way seeing it from the perspective of Justine's sort of like vehicle as well. Oh,
right. I think that there's I tried to explain this to somebody one day where it's like, eventually you watch enough scary shit to where scary shit's just cool.
Yes.
Where it's like, oh, that's dope. But like, I'm not like that with like gore and shit like that. I can't really watch gory movies. I'm not on board for. But the thing running down the hallway chasing you is like, it's going to have to be really goddamn creepy to creep me out. The thing that really fucked me up when she opens the door off screen, and I was audibly like, oh, fuck. I remember in the theater going, oh, fuck.
That's cool shit.
And dude, that was the part that got me of like having somebody blindfolding you and you hear somebody zipping open a bag and like, oh, what the fuck are you doing, man? Like that kind of stuff really gets me.
Every time they opened up that front door, you were just like, oh, what the
Oh,
fuck?
the blackness. Oh, man. Just the all black, like, that was great. The parts that creep me out the most are, like I said, his mom's head looking down at him, like when he's on the bathroom floor, I think is the scariest part of the whole movie. I've heard just the way she's staring down. I think the way they do the eyes in this is just incredible. The way everybody has that kind of like bulging
Benedict
look.
Wong's eyes in this as he's chasing Justine through the gas station.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, like truly, like terrifying.
Yeah, and him like beating his husband, like headbutting him to death. Like, holy shit. And also the pose, have you heard where this pose is from?
No, didn't you just say that it's just a cool pose?
Yeah, basically, but it was from there's a very famous picture from the Vietnam War. And I want to say it's of this girl. I think she's been hit with napalm or something, or I might be wrong, but she's standing there like that, like with her arms out. Kind of like
yes,
that.
I've seen this. Yeah, Agent Orange, I think, is what she's
yes.
been subjected to. Yeah,
I think that's the where that came from, just like the imagery of it. But it's definitely something I'm going to want to own. I'm going to want to rewatch and kind of see the little pieces that have flown by that I didn't pick up on the first time watching it in the theater, and letting kind of like the hype, around it kind of fall off. And, Moist Critical, the YouTuber, he had awesome. A really I love Moist, old Charles White. I watch his channel a lot, and he kind of did a review on it. He was like, it was all right. He's like, it was pretty good. And I think that's kind of where I sit with it, is like, really, really liked it. I think I liked it more than that. But that's, I think that it was not quite what I was expecting. And sometimes that can be good and that can be bad. And I think there's good and bad elements to my expectations with this movie when it came out. I think there was the way that like we said, the way the marketing kind of set it up and the way the beginning of the movie kind of sets it up it's a little deceptive, but it's still within the realm of like honesty of the way that it sets the movie up. It didn't just like, wait, I thought I was going to see like a Transformers movie and ends up being weapons. It's not like that. But I see why people did feel a little bit like, I don't know about that. That wasn't quite what I was expecting. And I think that is probably the most fair thing. I don't think there's a goddamn person that walked into weapons and thought, yeah, this is totally what I was expecting. I don't think there's anybody who's had that thought, No,
not at all. And I think Barbarian was the same thing.
Right.
Real quick, I just want to give some love to our members. We got a couple comments on
yes,
this.
good. I'm glad
I
got them pulled up as well. Thank you.
No, that's all right. I'll read Danielle's first because she's been trying to get her comment in for weeks, but she keeps
Danielle.
missing the recording. So Danielle, thank you so much for commenting, and thank you so much for being an amazing member. She says, I got to see this one in theaters this past weekend with a group of friends that included the incomparable Roz. And holy forking shirt balls, did Zach Cregger knock it out of the park. As someone who missed out on seeing Barbarian in theaters but absolutely adored it on streaming, I admit I went into this with pretty high expectations. I unfortunately saw the more extended version of the trailer, so I had an inkling of what I thought was going to happen. And in a way, I guess I was right, but I was also way off. Um, which is one of the things that I. Oh, sorry. Hold on. Let me start again. Which is one of the things that I'm coming to love about his movies. I like that the twists are clever and aren't done just for shock value. I like that the scares are truly fucking terrifying and that the jump scares aren't just there for the sake of being a jump scare. Everything feels methodical and everything feels like it has a purpose. Except for that one scene with the gun in the sky, LOL. Still not quite sure what that thing is all about. Keeping my eye out for a Reddit thread to explain it to me. Same, Danielle. The imagery in this film was something else, and I don't know if I'll ever get a specific image involving a ceiling out of my head ever. It's up there with the scenes with Tony Collette and Hereditary in terms of living in my brain rent free. Kreger is now 2 for 2, and I'm so excited to see what he comes up with next. And I'm so excited to hear y'all's coverage of this one. Thank you so much, Danielle. We hope you enjoyed this. Thank you so much for your insightful thoughts as always. Yeah, I'm also keeping my eyes peeled for a Reddit post about the AR-15. And I mean, like, it makes sense that, you know, this reminded you of Hereditary, given that Kreger was very much inspired by Hereditary and Magnolia, so that makes a lot of sense. Real quick before we do go, Patrick also said he's fucking complaining that we're covering movies that are out in the theater. It's like me not being able to go to theater often. You guys covering all the movies coming out in the theater. It's like pander to old people with small children. Damn it.
Yeah, we've been doing that for 8 years,
dude. You have an extensive backlog to go through, I'm sure, Patrick.
No, yeah, I saw that. It made me laugh. No, thank you, Danielle. That was a great comment. I think that a lot of what she said echoes a lot of my thoughts, and I agree with some of those perspectives on how, like, the movie definitely does not have a lot of, like, fat. Like, yes, it tells the story from, like, the same story sometimes from multiple people's different angles, but it's always like a little bit of, like, okay, so I know who this guy is and where he comes from, and then you get their, like, chunk of it, you know. Like, we see Paul in the bar and Miss Gandy's story, but then his story starts and goes totally somewhere else, and I think that's
I don't
awesome.
think there's a wasted moment in this entire movie. I'm very, very happy with where they end each segment. I think the moments that Kreger chooses to end each segment is perfect. Like, in terms of just, like, we're going to keep this rolling, and I'm going to keep your anticipation going. Especially when we close, I think it's Archer's segment when Marcus arrives at the gas station. I was like, holy shit.
Absolutely. I think that there's a lot of, there's a lot going on. It's an interesting movie because plot wise, there's really not a lot going on, but then character wise, it's a shit ton. It's a lot of stuff going on from character POV. So I think that's very interesting. Is that we kind of see how Gladys is able to manipulate this town and get people behind her, and she's doing just enough to kind of keep the wolves out of the den. And then eventually kind of seeing where, like, okay, we're kind of starting to get to a point where we're making too much ruckus and we've got to leave. And Amy Madigan as Gladys. We have talked about before forever ago in the Streets of Fire. Shout out to Jose.
She's in Gone Baby Gone as well. Did we cover Gone Baby Gone? I don't think so. Did we?
I don't think we have. No. I know her from, like, Field of Dreams and Uncle Buck. You know, she's great. And yeah, the way she kind of just comes across as this, like, fairy tale, you know, her, like, we were on the way home talking about her and I was like, it's a character who is obviously so fucking out of date with stuff that, like, you know, the years have blended so bad. She's like, wait, yeah, this is modern, right? It's like, it's 2025 and she's dressed like she's from the 60s, you know?
Right.
So it's very interesting to see.
Amy Madigan was not billed in this. Like she was kind of a surprise.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah. And I like, because I watched something where Zach Kreger was talking about the jump scares, which I think have become, you know, something that's more and more pissing people off, I guess, when it comes to horror movies. I think people are really getting tired of that. And I think he even said as much in an interview. He's like, if you're just doing it to like, it's the old cat in the cupboard trick is what he calls it. He goes, when the cat just jumps out of the cupboard, I don't really give a shit. And he's like, but if it has something to do with the story and the cat leads somebody to a something, then I'm fine with it. He's like, but it needs to be part of the story. We can't just have the cat jumping out of the cupboard at people. That pisses me off. And I was like, well, that's cool. So I'm excited to see what he's going to do next. I think that this movie will probably be a little bit more divisive than Barbarian. I think that Barbarian, like, you either liked it or you didn't. You know, I definitely feel like there were people that didn't like Barbarian, and we call those people losers. But I think that this movie will be a little bit more divisive because it takes some real risk and it lands a lot of them. Some of them I'm kind of 50-50 on, but I don't think it really majorly like, oh no, you fucked up. Like, I don't think there's ever a point in this movie where I'm like, oh no, you fucked up. Like, I'm like, okay, like I can get on board with this, but it's not all slam dunks, but there's no strikeouts either.
It's so funny you say that because I've seen almost unanimous praise for this movie and divisiveness for Barbarian.
Really? So interesting.
Yeah, because like the more people I talk to about Barbarian, they're like, oh, I didn't love it, or oh, I really liked it. And then like for this, it's just all I've heard is good things.
That's interesting. Because it's I've seen like mostly good things about Weapons so far, but it's only been a week. But I think this is going to be one of those movies where time will definitely tell if this is like if is a lot of this hype, is a lot of this like, I don't think most of this is hype. I think some of it's hype. I think some of it's a little overblown. I definitely think it's this and like Companion have been my favorite movies to come out this year, but calling this like this one of the best horror movies of the last like 5 or 6 years, I'm like, okay, well, let's just calm down on that. Like, I don't know if I'm there yet.
I'd just call it one of the best movies in the last 5 years. That's what I'd call it.
Interesting.
I don't want to pigeonhole it as like a horror movie or a mystery movie. I don't know. I just thought the experience was incredible.
I see that. I do. I'm excited to watch it when it comes to streaming and stuff and buying it and getting more views in on it. And if this Gladys prequel thing's coming out, that's I'm glad they're doing that. It's kind of like a X and that whole Mia Goth universe. So that's cool. I enjoyed this. I definitely did. I know I sound skeptical on it, and I think it's just because I have such strong feelings going in that I'm still kind of like reconciling some stuff and trying to put the pieces together. Like as a horror fan, as a Whitest Kids fan, as like a story, like there's a lot of different angles I feel like I've got to work on. So I'm excited to see it whenever it comes home.
Cool. All right, let's get us out of here. Actually, I know I keep saying this. I really need to start work because I'm fucking running late. But there's one more thing that I wanted to cover. A question was put to Zach Cregger about his next project, which is he is writing and directing this Resident Evil film,
right?
And a question was put to him about him writing and directing these two very original movies in Barbarian and Weapons, and he's like, his answer was very, I thought very humble. He's like, look, I know exactly what you're thinking. Like, I am diving headfirst into intellectual property, and that's exactly what Resident Evil is. But I'm going to try and make it not feel that way. I'm going to try and make it feel like it is something original in this world. And then like he kind of like says that he's like got some really original scripts that he is working on as well. So like to people who, because I know there are people out there who sort of get worried whenever you see sort of like an auteur or like a director come out of the blue making original
start doing
movies,
McDonald's commercials.
Yes, and then they get sucked up into the MCU or whatever.
Yeah.
You're right, exactly. But like, I think Cregger was very much like, no, I do plan to stay original as much as I can, but like, I did want to play with the Resident Evil toys, is what he said.
Right. Very quickly, have you heard about his Batman script?
No, that's fucking awesome. Whoa, actually, yes, I have.
Yes.
Is this about the lone thug? Or
Yes.
like just yes, okay, yes.
So
Tell me more
there's
about
some, what I've heard is that it's not so much about Batman. That kind of misled you. Is that it's about a lone Gotham thug who happens to incapacitate Batman somehow, and that it would have Joker and Harley Quinn in it, and that it would feature Batman like very, very minimally is what I've heard. But it's just a script that he's written for fun, like a spec script. But all in all, I enjoyed it.
That sounds
I'm
cool,
happy
actually. That sounds like a lot of fun.
I'm very interested to see how he would take it, you know. But I like this movie. I'm excited to watch it a little bit more, and I'm excited for what he's going to be doing next. I think I want to jump over here and eat some hot dogs and watch some Whitest Kids. I'm not even kidding.
Yes, and I am going to go get to work. We will see you guys next time. I don't know what we're going to be covering next time. Given the sort of scarcity of things that are interesting us towards this back half of the year, we might dive into some older stuff for you, Patrick.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see how we go.
Yeah,
maybe give us some suggestions. So yeah.
All right, awesome. Well, we had a lot of fun talking about this, guys. We'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for supporting us, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye.